and welcome to the Goldyn Hour. I am Goldyn Duffy, your host, and I am super excited to be here with you today. I have so many things planned for this show and so many things planned for your expansion and growth, for my expansion and growth, and for everyone that takes part in this to be part of something bigger than ourselves. That is the goal. So I am really excited to discuss universal law with you, to discuss law of attraction. There are many different universal laws, which I'm going to go over. Today, I'm going to go to the basics. So if you've never heard of law of attraction, a lot of people think it's like a dating thing. It's not. If you've never heard of this universal law, this is your first experience hearing about it, welcome. I'm going to actually give you a little caveat and a little disclaimer, because if you're here and you're listening to this, there's a big part that you have to give up. And the thing that you have to give up is victimhood. You can't be a victim and know what I'm about to tell you and really live what I'm about to tell you. So it kind of takes blame off the counter. You can't be blaming everybody else and not taking responsibility for your life and understanding and working with universal laws. It doesn't work that way. We have to take full responsibility for everything, for every thought, for every feeling, for every belief, for everything we're putting out. Just like this wave behind me, we are conducting energy. We are energy conductors, and we are transmitting energy by how we think and feel. So I'm going to jump into it. So basically, your vibration is energy, right? Like everything has a vibrational energy, and your vibration is based on your state. It's about the mood that you're in. So when you wake up in a bad mood and every bad thing happens to you that day and you say it was the worst day ever, it's because you started it that way. And you could say, oh, I woke up and I felt fine, and then I spilled my coffee and then I didn't feel fine. And that's what conducted the energy of the rest of the day turning out not so great. So this is going to help you to gain control over your moods. There's a lot to it, but I promise you that through the course of my show, my guests, everything that I bring to you is going to help you to gain control over your mind. Your mind is the most important thing that we need to gain control over. Your feelings, your emotions. Your emotions are energy in motion. So your emotions are really the biggest conductors. Your thoughts don't manifest necessarily. It's the emotion you put behind them that actually manifests. So your thoughts, your emotions, and your beliefs, we grew up with a certain set of beliefs. Most of our beliefs were created by the time we were 5 to 7 years old. So many of us have not only outdated belief systems, but we have belief systems that were given to us by our parents, by our teachers, by our grandparents, by people who weren't necessarily conscious and not conscious of us being worthy beings, being worthy of truth, being worthy of the amazing energy that we could actually start conducting from. So that's what I'm going to help you to tune into, to shed these old beliefs, to shed the past, to release, to heal, and to come into a whole new identity. Okay, so that's the basis, is your state, your mood is what actually starts to create this wave. And the wave comes out. This is a little quantum physics for you, but it's quantum physics simplified. So I'm going to give you the science of manifesting, and I'm going to give you the spirituality of manifesting. And if you can marry those two things together, you will be the most powerful creator. And then when we add mind training into it, so this is the thing about the mind, okay? We have 60,000 thoughts a day, and most of those thoughts are rooted in yesterday or rooted in worries about the future. So if we don't get a handle on what we are choosing to think about, we will have automatic programmings running all the time. And those automatic programmings are the reason why you have cycles in your life that you don't like, why you have relationships that don't work, why your finances aren't where you want them to be, because you have these automatic programs that keep telling you that you are unworthy of finances, that you are unworthy of love, that you are unworthy of abundance. So we have to change that. So that's where the mind training piece is going to come in. And I'm going to do that a little bit later. But for now, my little quantum physics lesson is this. if you could imagine, and this is really just for the sake of being able to picture this happening as you are the conductor. You are that big radio station that is setting the dial to the frequencies that you tune into. So as you send out a wave, okay, so as you have a thought, you suddenly think a thought, that thought evokes a feeling. That feeling starts the wave. So that's what starts the energy in motion, your emotion. That wave starts to go out. And as you continue to think and feel, because what happens is with law of attraction is there's momentum. So as you have a thought, another thought is going to come that's like it. It may not be exactly like it, but it feels the same. So as you start, as you wake up in the middle of the night, you start worrying about your finances, then you start worrying about your daughter, then you start worrying about your husband, then you start worrying about work, you start worrying about your boss. All of that worry is on a frequency. So as you have that thought, then your emotions start to create this wave. As the wave goes out, then it breaks down into particles and becomes physical matter. So soon enough, they say it's like 68 seconds, you'll start to get physical evidence of that energy in motion, of that emotion. So if you're frustrated, if you're upset, if you're impatient, things like this happen. Traffic, spilling your coffee, head colds, flat tires, all of those things are on the frequency of impatience and frustration. Did you ever have trouble with your computer? Right? And you got really frustrated. And if you're really smart and you've caught on to this and you get up and you walk away and you come back, a lot of times those things clear up because you've shifted your energy. You've gotten away from the conduction of frustration. And hopefully you went out in the sunshine or you had a sandwich or you talked to somebody you loved and then you come back and all of a sudden it's working better. That's because of energy conduction. It's because of the frequency that you're tuning into. Now, this happens positively as well, which is wonderful. So I'm going to help you to tune into more of the up levels, more of the higher energies. Just by listening to this show, you're being part of this higher energy because I live in this higher energy and it is fantastic. It's where there's infinite energy. It's where you always feel good. I mean, there's times when we have things that happen that, I'm not always happy, but for the most part, I'm in an energetic conduction of love and appreciation. And love and appreciation are your highest frequencies. Also, humor, joy, lightheartedness, when you're joking around with people, when you just feel good, when it's like that beautiful spring day and you just can't help but to feel good about it. You know that feeling? That's frequency, that's currency, that's abundance, that's living in the higher energy fields. Now, if you don't feel that way a lot and you're coming to this show hoping to figure out how to feel that way more, I'm going to give you some tips and tricks, I promise. But first, understand that your elevation of your mood has to do with what you decide to focus upon. So some of the things that I love to do is like put on really good music, especially if I'm kind of in a weird mood. I'll put on really good music. I love to go out in sunshine, vitamin D, bringing in nature. All of that stuff is going to elevate your mood. But it really depends on what does it for you. Hug from my husband, a hug from my kids, that'll do it for me. Talking to a friend who makes me, laughter will always get you there. Anytime you can laugh, you are putting yourself in not only a frequency of higher energy, but you're also creating all this wonderful energy inside your body to actually create healing. I mean, they have tested this. They have literally flipped cancer cells around by having someone sit and watch funny movies and laugh a lot. That's how we can heal ourselves and take our power back from all of this belief that we don't have the ability to do that. So when it comes to your energetic conduction, you get to decide. And I know right now, if this is the first time you're hearing about this, it may not feel that way. Like, how in the world do I get to decide how I feel when somebody does something to me, right? That's what we got to stop doing because that's blame and that's giving your power away. You've got to set the foundation for yourself very strong first thing in the morning. That's important. First thing in the morning is super important. And I see a comment and I Would love to comment on your comments, but I'm going to do it at the end so that I can kind of keep my flow going, because once I get on a flow, we don't want to interrupt that. All right. So first thing in the morning is your first chance, because you have rested hopefully the night before and you're waking up fresh. So you are in your freshest state of consciousness. Also, because you have just come out of sleep, you are fresh out of the alpha state. So I'm going to share a little bit about alpha state today, and as the show goes on, I'll share more about it. But your alpha state is like that state right before you fall asleep and right after you wake up. That is your meditative state. So that is when your mind is kind of blank, when it's clear, when you have this clean slate. And that's what meditation will do for you. I like to call it quieting your mind, because a lot of people believe they can't meditate. If you believe you can't meditate, that's why you can't, because you believe you can't. So a meditation practice is going to be number one in you gaining control over not only just your thoughts, but your emotions. Because if you can choose your thoughts, then you don't have such an automatic behavior when it comes to emotions. And we'll get into more about emotional addiction and things like that after this show. I'll dive deeper as this goes. If you want more information, I do have a podcast. I have a YouTube channel at Manifest to Live Life Golden is my podcast and my YouTube channel. So that I've got like over 100 episodes. If you're interested in going deeper right away, like if this is just too surface for you, go there, because there's a lot of deep information there. But here I want to start fresh with you. So your conduction is really important first thing in the morning. I always share with people that meditating in the morning is like, it's like picking up your keys to drive your car. Like that's what meditation is in the morning. It prepares your day. It puts you in higher states of consciousness before you get started, before you actually conduct this wave around your day. So your emails, your work, your boss, your car, your kids, your wife, your husband, all of that is being conducted. And if you can do it after a meditative state, you're going to be way more successful. You're going to be tuned into way more success if you can do this. I'm going to just check this comment and make sure. Okay, cool. Somebody's here and I got a heart. Hey, Nadine. Okay, cool. I just want to make sure they weren't like, I can't hear you. All right. So when it comes to that day and you setting yourself up for success, meditation is going to be number one. I promise you, you can do it. And actually, I have a little meditation thing for you right here. I'm going to share it on the bottom of the screen. You can go there and there's, I think it's like $47. There's a little meditation teaching for you on there that will get you to start meditating. It is amazing. But there are tons of things on YouTube that you can go to for guided meditations. Right now, my favorite one is Jose Silva. Jose Silva taught an alpha meditation that I absolutely love. And they've got a ton of those on YouTube, and they just get you in the alpha state. So it helps you to raise your consciousness. Now, when you're in that alpha state, you are super freaking powerful. And this is why. In quantum physics, it's referred to as the zero state awareness. It's where everything is created from. How cool is that? Everything is created from this fresh slate. So it's like the calm ocean and there's no waves. It's just this calm ocean. Doesn't a calm ocean feel good? Doesn't it sound good to you? Now the waves are going to come, right? Thoughts are going to come. You've got 60,000 of them a day. And if you've never trained your mind, it's going to go crazy. As soon as you sit down, it's going to go crazy. So you just have to breathe. Jose Silva teaches counting 100 from 100 down to 1. That keeps your mind on the number, and you'll slip into moments of higher states of consciousness where you'll be like, oh my gosh, I don't have any thoughts. And then you're thinking again, and you got to go back, focusing on your breath. So when you get into the zero state of consciousness, you are in a point where there's no past, there's no future. You're just here in the present. And that's the most beautiful moment there is, because that's the only moment we really have guaranteed. And that's the moment that we have to start creating from. So that will start your day out amazing. Now, it may take 3, maybe 4 days. I'm not kidding you. 3 or 4 days of committing to a 15 to 20 minute meditation practice, even 10 minutes, will radically change your life. Because what you're going to do is you're going to create awareness around these automatic thoughts. You're going to create awareness around the energy and that wave that you're conducting from. Once you start to create the awareness, then you get to choose. You get to choose and you get to go, you know what? I'm not going to respond to that traffic in the same old ways that I normally do by getting frustrated and showing up to work mad. I'm going to calm down. I'm going to take a deep breath. I'm going to send this traffic love. I'm going to send everyone in their car love. Doesn't that sound crazy? It works. I'm telling you, it works. And it's not about necessarily sending someone love that cuts you off in traffic. It's about beaming that love from yourself so that you can feel it, so that you can be in the higher vibration and you can be in the better mood that creates all this wonderful stuff coming back to you, right? That's what law of attraction is. It's what you send out is what you get back. It's like the same thing as the law of karma. It's what you send out is what you get back. So think about that, because every energy, every story, everything you're thinking about in every area of your life, you are sending a signal to that. So you got, kids in your life, you got older parents in your life, you got people in your life that you're sending worry to. You don't want to do that. You don't want to send people worry. You don't want to send your future worry. You don't want to send your past regret. What you want to do is be more present, first of all, and mindful and aware of the energy that you're sending. So the first universal law that I'm going to cover today is called the law of correspondence. It's one of my favorite laws because it makes so much sense to me. The law of correspondence is like you're writing a letter to the universe. Now, whatever you believe, whether it's universe, God, source, I'm on board with you. I tend to say universe because it doesn't have a lot of connotation involved. A lot of us grew up with a God that wasn't very nice, a judgmental God, and that's not what I believe in. So I believe in the infinite energy of all that is. I believe in this vast universe. I believe that there's this energetic stream that we are an expression of, and you can believe in that or not. I have a lot of good information. You can turn my show off now if you don't agree with that, but you'll miss out. You'll miss out on the expansion and growth of listening to this message. So when it comes to the law of correspondence, if you could think about everything you're doing, every thought you have, everything you tune into, right? Because what we focus on expands. So if you could think about that as you're writing a letter, you're writing a letter to that thing. You're writing a letter to the universe. Please send me more of this. Depending on how you think and how you feel, you will get more of that. That's correspondence. You're sending out and you're getting back. The law of correspondence is one of the coolest things because what it says is we get to write the letter. We get to decide what we bring back to ourselves. Isn't that wonderful? Now, you may not be feeling so good about that because I've taught this to hundreds and hundreds of people. And for the very first time that I started teaching it, I actually had a group of people over in my living room and I started teaching it because I thought it was so fascinating and it was radically changing my life. This was like probably 12 years ago. But people got really upset, and they got upset because they were like, I can't believe I did this to my life. Now, if you're feeling that way right now, I don't want you to feel that way because you didn't know better. When we're not conscious about something, it's not a good idea to beat ourselves up for not being conscious about it. We didn't know better. We're all doing the best we can with what we know and where we are in our expansion and growth. So all we can do is do better, right? And that lets us off the hook for the past, because beating yourself up for the past, guess what that does to the law of correspondence? It projects that onto your future. So you don't want to do that. That's why I'm saying let go of the past, and I will have ways for you to do that coming up on other shows. Actually, my next show is going to be amazing. On Thursday, I have a show with James Junta, and he's going to talk all about letting go of your old identity because he teaches hypnosis. So I'm super into this stuff because I love working with the mind and training ourselves to have the right correspondence. So if you're feeling like, oh my goodness, I don't have a choice over this, I'm in a bad mood all the time, or I suffer from depression, If you're doing things like that, first of all, you're not giving yourself a really good shot. If you tell yourself, and I'm not putting down mental illness. I'm not saying that it doesn't exist. I have had depression and I've been depressed in my life. I am not depressed. Like if you're saying I am, be careful what you say I am about. But this information, what it will help you to do is start to separate yourself from those labels. If you can come on board with me, if you can, chug from my jug, as I like to say, if you can really understand what I'm putting out there and grasp the idea that you are a powerful creator and that victimhood does not belong in your life anymore, that you don't need to live that way. And I know it may seem that victimhood or the way you've been thinking is easier. I'll have people come on board with me and they'll go, I wish I didn't know this because now I'm in charge and I don't want to be in charge. I would rather feel like I wasn't in charge, because now you got to take responsibility for everything you're entertaining up here. But you don't want to live in victimhood. I promise you, there's way more joy on this side. There's way more joy to letting stuff go. There's way more joy to tuning into higher frequencies. And there is way more joy in realizing the power that you have to create and exercising it every single day. All right. So our foundation is meditation, mind training, zero state awareness, whatever you want to call it. You're going to put yourself in that state every day, that alpha state where you are raising yourself into higher consciousness. The other thing that happens when you raise yourself into higher consciousness is you put yourself in the quantum field. Yes, the quantum field of creating, where you can start to plant little seeds, right? This is where visualization comes in. Michael Bernard Beckwith calls it visioning, where you actually allow visions to come to you. So if you want to create something, if you want to become something, if you want a beach house, that's a lot of my visualizations around beach houses. If you want a beach house, it's seeing yourself there. It's feeling yourself there. It's energetically conducting this wave to actually create it and manifest it. And I do have experience with this, so I'll just share a little example of this, and I won't go too deep, but I want you to understand like where I come from and why do I know about this and why am I good at it. I've been studying this for probably 14 years. And it actually came to me on the heels of a network marketing company where we were sending out greeting cards. And the idea is what you send out is what you'll get back. And that appreciation and love every day, sending that out, was incredible. I will share that link because I'm still a part of that company. I still love it. You click the send button, they print the card for you, and a person gets that in the mailbox. And one of the things that they had shared was that these intuitions that we get, they call them promptings, these intuitions that we get, and then we act on it because we have a way to do it from our computer super fast. Within those 2 days, when that person gets that love and appreciation, little tiny miracles would happen. Like I would get messages from people and they would say, I don't know how you knew that I needed this today, but I really needed some encouragement. I really needed to feel like I mattered. So that's when I was like, oh, wow. Like when we have intuitions, when we have promptings, when we have that little voice telling us to do something, it actually could create something in the world, something amazing for someone else. That's when I started to tune in and to really pay attention. Now, I've been meditating for like 25 years and it changed the game for me. Meditating changed my motherhood. It changed who I was as a person. I started to become more confident. I started to heal. I started to become whole again. But adding this intuition piece was something else for me. And for you as well, because when you tune into higher states of consciousness, what you do is you turn up the dial of that intuition. And then you're going to have these promptings that are going to create really cool stuff for you. Some will be small, some will be big. Some days you're going to be like, get this voice and it says, go this way. And you're like, why did I go this way? And then you're going to meet someone amazing and you're going to be like, oh my gosh, I listened and something really cool happened. So when we actually are from Connecticut. So I am a mother of 4 daughters. Yes, I know, it's amazing. And they range in age from 30, 29, 21, and 19. I know. And I've been with my husband since high school. So we started dating when I was 14. I fell in love with him when I was 12. And he will be on here. We're going to do a little marriage thing together because we've been married for 30. together for 37, and it's wonderful. It's really good. And we've kind of figured out, especially with this universal law stuff, we figured out how to have a relationship that is really open and loving and caring and not so triggering. We used to trigger each other a lot. So we figured that out. So we want to share that with you. So we lived in Connecticut our whole lives. Yep. In the East Coast of the USA. We lived there our whole lives. Never, ever, ever imagined that I would want to move. But something happened and I started to want to live out west. It was part of being a part of this company, and I had met some people that lived out west that I fell in love with. They became like family, and I started to consider this and share it with my husband, and he was kind of on board. We were really over winter. So we were like, would love to live somewhere warmer. So we came out to California. We scouted for like 8 days to figure out where we wanted to live. And then nothing happened. Like, we didn't make any connections. My husband is a general contractor. So he builds, he does remodels. He can do a lot of different things. And we really wanted him to have work here before we moved, but it just didn't happen like that. So I started meditating. So this went on for like 4 years. I really wanted to move. I really felt strongly it was going to happen. And I started visualizing, and I would visualize this wave. I would visualize I would actually meditate to the ocean waves. And I really pictured myself here in California, which is where I live now. So we ended up going crazy and just making this huge decision to take a quantum leap of faith. We saved up some money. We sold everything we owned with 2 kids. We had 2 kids home. 2 were already moved out. 2 kids, 2 cats, 1 car. We had our car shipped, and the only things we brought was what we could fit in that car and our suitcases on the plane. And we had this huge leap of faith, no place to live, no jobs, and it was crazy. But what it showed me was how this law of attraction stuff can be put into place with anything. Now, we had fear. There's no doubt when you do something like that, there's massive amounts of fear. But our faith grew. There were times when we didn't have enough money for rent. There were times when we were really up against it. And every time it worked out, time and time and time again, it worked out. So it built our faith, it built our trust. And what we started to do was energetically, we would see the conduction of the wave. So the times when we felt really down and broke and depressed, we would go to the ocean. That's why we moved to California, to be closer to the ocean. So we would go to the sunset, and that's what the Goldyn Hour is all about. It's my favorite hour. We would go and we would watch the sunset, and it would give us this feeling of assurance, the assurance that tomorrow was another day and that we made it. We made it through another day, and we just had to keep going. So that's the connection of the show. Moving out to California, it's the best thing we ever did. That was 8 years ago. My husband built an incredibly successful business here. We now live in a home with a 4-bedroom home that is full of furniture that's already paid for. We have 3 living room sets. We joke about that a lot. And that's not to like brag and say I have a lot of stuff. It's just hilarious that we literally, our first living room set was the Tommy Bahama beach chairs that we bought for the beach. And the box that our vacuum came in was our coffee table. So we've come a long way, and we've built ourselves up over time, recognizing how manifestation works. So if there is something that you want to do, that you want to be a part of, it keeps calling to you, that dream keeps calling to you, there's a reason. And there's not just a reason, there is absolutely assurance that you can manifest it. Because if you have the dream, it's already been created. It's already in your quantum field. As outlandish as it sounds, it is absolutely possible for you, but you have to activate the energy. So if we're talking about the wave here, the 4 years that we spent in very strong desire, shoveling snow, right? Dealing with the winter, wishing and hoping and praying. Wishing and hoping and praying is not a very strong conduction. It's not, because it takes you out of it. When you're wishing and hoping and praying, you're really just relying on God's source to come and save you, right? God, source, universe, come save me. You're not really being a co-creative partner in that process. So we had to put ourselves in that activation by booking plane tickets. That's the first thing we did. And it was crazy and it felt nuts. And I thought I couldn't breathe for a little bit after we did it, selling everything we owned, putting everything on Facebook Marketplace. And my house was insane for a while. People just coming and taking and buying and all this like craziness of making this huge quantum leap decision. And then the miracles and the manifestations that came and supported us in every single turn. I have hundreds of stories. In fact, this is my story. Mindful Manifestation Secrets. It's available on Amazon. Didn't have time to put the link up, but if you just go to Amazon and you type it in, you should be able to find it. Mindful Manifestation Secrets by Goldyn Duffy. This is my first book. This is the book that will tell you about our story from moving from Connecticut to California and all the little miracles that happened, and the information of me breaking it down for you, breaking down what happened in each example, in each miracle, and how we contributed to creating the life of our dreams. And I'm telling you right now, it's the life of our dreams. We are loving where we are, and we just live in one of the most beautiful places in the world, and every single day we both wake up thankful. So there you go. High vibration, thankful that we said yes to our dreams and we didn't shrink away from the fears and the doubts. Instead, we took the leap of faith. And when you get confident in law of attraction and manifesting, it gets easier to do that, but it's still a little crazy. I'm not going to lie. It's still a little crazy. All right. So that's my first book. Okay. Where are we going from here? Radio station frequency, high vibrations. That's the simplification of it really is just your mood. It's just that conduction that your mood has in the energy field. So how you're feeling is super important. And if you don't feel like you have control over it, start meditating and start paying attention to the thoughts that you're tuning into. I've had so many times where I would tune into a thought and all of a sudden I would start to have like this yucky feeling. And I would go, oh, wait, I don't have to think about that like that. I don't have to think about that right now, right? Like that's one of the ways that I interrupt things. I'm like, I don't have to think about that right now. Letting that go and gaining control over that is one of the most masterful things you can do in the world of manifestation. Now, it doesn't mean you're in denial and it doesn't mean you ignore your problems. I've done that. I've gone through bankruptcy. I've gone through house foreclosure from trying to ignore my problems. The truth of the matter is, it's more about the way you tune into it and focus. So one of the things with the house foreclosure, I'll just mention this really quick. We lived in our house for 5 years without paying a mortgage. And a lot of that was part of my manifestation of trusting that I was going to be able to get through a financial crisis, keep my home, and then give it back when I was ready, which was when we left for California, which enabled us to save up money. Now, you might think that's crappy, but I think what the banks did was kind of crappy. So we won't get into that. But that's the idea. It's not denial, but it's connecting with what you want to happen. That's what it is. It's not pushing it away, because if you're pushing things away, you have fear underneath, but it's connecting with things. It's not pushing things away. It's connecting with things in what you want to happen. It's projecting that future, that visualization, and those feelings around what you actually want to happen, what you want to conspire, what correspondence you want to send. Okay. So being present, working in your energy field, clearing up triggers. So I want to talk real quick about triggers. Things happen, right? And we get triggered. Now, a trigger is a very strong emotional response that is based on outside circumstances, something that happens to us. Our triggers are connected to things that happened when we were younger, and they're usually wounds. They're usually a trauma that we lived through or a wound that we lived through, and that's why we will have an extreme emotional response to it, especially if it's something you've never looked at before. So my process with that is to really start asking yourself some questions, journaling. Why do I feel this way? Where does this come from? I have a great book for you on that as well. And this is also on Amazon. Mindful Manifestation Secrets Daily Guide and Journal is your daily guide. And there's journaling and writing prompts that will help you to get in touch with why you're feeling triggered, how to heal, and how to move yourself from where you are to where you most want to be, to that identity that you most want to create from. Do you want to be wounded? Do you want to feel left out? Do you want to feel abandoned? Because if you you don't want to feel that way. If you're ready to let that go, there's a readiness process, right? A consciousness. You got to get to the right consciousness with it. If you're ready to let that go, then it's really just journaling exercises and then a decision, right? Gaining control over that mind and then deciding, do I want to feel this way? I did this a lot when my kids were little. So I had four girls, and two are really close together, and then we had an 8-year gap, and then we have two that are 2 years apart. And I remember for years and years and years, I was extremely resentful. And that came from just being an overgiver, from looking for love, from really wanting to be liked, and from always like over giving to people because I wanted to feel love because I never felt whole. If that's you, let's take a look at that. So get that book. You're going to need that book. So over the course of the years, I realized that I was very resentful towards my kids asking me for things, or I would always offer. I would over offer to my kids. I would over give to my kids. So there was no boundaries, and I would start to feel resentful. So I made a decision. I was like, do I want to continue to feel this way? Because if I keep feeling resentful, they're going to keep giving me reasons. Life is going to keep giving me reasons to feel resentful, right? That the law of correspondence. I'm writing a letter to resentment. Bring me more, right? So I let it go. And let me tell you, game changer. Because not only did I let go of resentment, I let go of overgiving. I let go of trying to get love from doing, and I started to be love instead. I also let go of not having boundaries. So, just like doing everything for everyone. And I started to listen to my own inner voice about what was right for me. And if you're not there and you're a people pleaser and you're constantly depleted of energy, you will get there if you listen to this show, if you continue to do the work to becoming more through meditation, through deciding that you're worthy and that you deserve to live the life that you love, and not a life of continual just energetic depletion. That's what it is when you give too much. It's energetic depletion. So definitely get that book, though. That will help you a lot. So in these, all right, so I covered all of that. All right. Okay. So when you put yourself in higher states of consciousness, that's one of the greatest guarantees in becoming a wonderful manifester. When you put yourself in higher states of consciousness, you're going to amplify that feeling of a higher vibration. That's how we get into higher vibrations, is by putting ourselves somewhere where there is nothing. There's nothing. There's no past. There's no energy conduction. There's no people asking us what to do. There's nothing. We're just here and we're present and we're in a space where we can just be. When we start to learn how to just be, then we can start to learn how to create, because we have that blank slate to work from. We have that zero state awareness. When it comes to law of attraction, when you get up from your chair, when you get up from meditating, okay, so that's a good tip, which I do share in my meditation. I'll just pop that back up again. In my meditation teaching, it's important to sit up when you meditate. If you lay down, you're going to sleep. You know this. We're all sleep deprived. You're going to sleep. So sitting up, not uncomfortably. I like to sit up with like a pillow behind my back, feet on the floor, and taking deep breaths, putting yourself in a place where you can start to raise that energy. You can start to raise that feeling of well-being. That's what it is. Your natural state is of well-being. If you don't feel it right away, you've got to work through that. You got to stick to it in order to gain that. I like to think of it as like a muscle, like we're building a muscle. You can't just go to the gym and work out once and have muscles. You have to train your mind and create that stronger muscle to have control over what you tune into. So as you get up from your chair and you start to approach your day, and there's all these moving parts, right? There's all these people, and that's the problem. There's all these people, right? And these people, they all have their own vibrations, and they all have their own moods, and they all have their own issues, and they all have their own challenges, right? So that's the part where we have to begin to decide, are we going to be uplifters, Or are we going to allow people to dip our vibrations? Are we going to allow people to erode the higher consciousness that we just put ourselves in, right? And that is all based on how we respond to those around us. So for a very long time, I had a hard time with this, and it really aligns with the parenting books of saying, like, ignore the bad behavior and only praise the good behavior. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, how do you do that? When your kid's flipping out or having a temper tantrum, or your boss is yelling at you, or your mother-in-law. I don't know. I don't know who the rascals are in your life. But when that happens, you have a choice of allowing their mood to infiltrate your mood, or to say that's their situation. I'm going to stay in my good feeling place. I'm going to continue to be lighthearted, and I'm going to stay in solution. So the problem is where all the frustration and impatience and probably your old responses are. The solution is in higher states of awareness. It's in higher states of consciousness. And the only way you're going to get there is if you have enough space, if you've created that space to begin responding in the way that's going to help you create what you want. One of the major trip ups to law of attraction is we have been conditioned to have a plan B. We have been conditioned to be prepared for worst case scenarios. And because of that, and because our mind likes to keep us safe and our mind likes to keep us the same, our mind also likes to give us problems to work on so that we don't connect with our deeper spiritual connections, because that's how the mind stays in control. That mind, if we can look at that and say, okay, that's one way of thinking about it. But I'm going to come over here and I'm going to create some space and I'm going to decide what I want to happen. I tell people this all the time, and they're kind of like, is it really that simple? And the simplicity of it is, write down what you want to happen. If you're looking for a new place to live, write down what that new place looks like. Writing is our strongest form of focus. Also, think of law of correspondence. We are corresponding to the universe. We're putting our order in with the universe. I did it with this house I'm in right now. I looked at 20 houses before I found this house, wrote down everything, every single thing I wanted. Boom, here it is. Now, I had some fears and anxieties on the way to this, yes, but it all worked out. And that's the important thing over the course of time that you will see as you start to connect with what you want to happen. There's a saying that says, anything that you do that you haven't manifested yet is because you have a belief in the way of it. You have a belief that's blocking that manifestation from coming true. So if it's millions you want, if it's luxury, if it's an amazing, incredible, luxurious car that you want, guess what's underneath usually blocking that stuff? Worthiness, deservability, confidence in yourself to build something that would create that kind of financial stability and that kind of lifestyle. You have to believe deep, deep down that you are worthy of an incredible life. You also have to let go of guilt. You've got to let go of belief systems that rich people are evil. I mean, we've heard all of these stories. A lot of the stories that we've heard, they're in our subconscious. I mean, even movies that we've watched. The Titanic is a great example of that. This is the first time I really understood like automatic programming or like subconscious programming in what we're watching. On the Titanic, they were having a great time on the bottom of the boat. The poor people were having a good time. The rich people were up top being pretentious and serious. And then when the ship started to go down, the rich people didn't care what happened to the poor people, right? That's what we start to believe. We start to believe that if we have money, if we are wealthy, that we are no good. And I'm sure if you didn't grow up wealthy, there may have been stories there too. There may have been beliefs from your parents. I had one, it was money talks, people walk. Yeah, that was a good one. I didn't catch that one, which means when people have money, they leave you if you don't. And that is not true because it's all vibrational energy. It's all vibrational conduction, right? I mean, yeah, sure. We know yucky rich people, but we also know yucky poor people, right? And yucky middle class people. It's not a hard line there, but if you have a hard line belief, that's what you're going to conduct from. So deservability is a huge one. Worthiness is a huge one. I actually have a challenge coming up. I'm not calling it a challenge. I'm calling it an activation. It is the 21-day abundance activation. It begins on May 1st, 2023. I'm super excited about this. I just did it with a group of people. It was incredible. So every day you will have a little activity, a meditation guided by me, that will help you get into the alpha state. So this is a great way to learn meditation as well. I'm going to walk you through it. And then there's a little activity, a little questionnaire that will help get you in tune with the belief systems that are blocking whatever you are looking to manifest. So this isn't necessarily about creating abundance, which might mean money for you. Abundance is the currency in your life, in your ability to feel like you have an abundance of love, of joy, of appreciation, that you have a wonderful life. It doesn't necessarily need to be money, but money's up there. Money is a currency that happens when you are in love, appreciation, and joy and passion. Your passion fuels the abundance that comes into your life. So if you're in a life-sucking job, we've got to find a way to activate that abundance for you. So that starts on May 1st, 2023. And if it's past that date, just email me. And here's my email address, livelifegolden@gmail. And first of all, if you're before May 1st, email me to save your spot because I can only right now take 20 people because I'm very interactive with you. So you'll get me on the daily and I'll help you to up level things and I will respond to your activities and your prompts and whatever you feel that you want to share in the group. And it takes place on WhatsApp. So it's cool because it's not in Zoom and it's not on Facebook. So you get notifications of people's messages and you're able to just post in there very easily. So you just have to download the WhatsApp, which is free. That program is $47. It's like less than $3 a day. Totally worth it. I'm working on getting that page up to sign up. So next time I'm on the show, I'll probably have the sign up link. But if you're really excited about that, you need to tell me so I can save you a spot. And that's the abundance activation. And that will help you to up level and continue to up level the life that you're living so that you can become more. Being in this life experience, really taking part in it and really being a very conscious creator. I was not always a conscious creator, and you have not always been a conscious creator. We come into this world unconscious. We have to start to wake this up in ourselves, and we have to start letting go of the things that were given to us, the beliefs that were given to us about ourselves that are not serving this greatest, most abundant, most amazing life we could live. You do not have to live what other people told you you would become. You also don't have to live any labels anymore. You don't have to live any self-defeating identities. There's one, that voice inside your head, that little critic. I've learned how to murder that critic. And it's really interesting what happens. So being out of my comfort zone is something that I've kind of taken it to an art. So, I've been doing a podcast for 2 years. I have lots of podcast episodes. I go on YouTube. It's all recorded, right? Well, this is a live show. I'm live right here with you right now. Unless you're watching it on the replay, but I'm live and that feels different and that's out of my comfort zone. And then I had to get these little videos ready for this and way out of the comfort zone, a lot of uncomfortable feelings coming into this. But that's where the rubber meets the road. So if you're fighting that, I'm actually going to do a podcast episode on that next about like why it's important for us to live outside that comfort zone and become more, because that's how we expand and grow. That's how we start to gain confidence. We don't gain confidence from wishing about things. I had somebody recently tell me that they were not good at public speaking. And public speaking is like what, the first fear or the second fear? It's like next to death. I can't remember if it's worse than the fear of death, But public speaking is frightening. And the very first time I ever did public speaking, like 12 years ago, I spoke in front of like 100, besides like school, which was horrible, right? Like that's our experience, is like having to speak in front of our peers that are all judging us. But when I first spoke in front of like, I think it was like 150 people, I thought I was going to die. My ears were all bright red. I think I was like all red here, and my heart was racing. My heart was beating so loud in my ears, I couldn't even hear what I was saying. And then I started to realize that the more I got up there, and because I was in this company, they put me up there like every week. The more I did it, the more I loved it, the more I realized that I have this connection, that I've got this like channel of information that's going to come through me. And as long as I'm talking about something that I really feel, something that I'm really passionate about, the words always come, right? The words always come. So for you, whatever it is, that comfort zone that you are really interested in getting outside of, or maybe you're just really scared to get outside of it, that's where it all begins. We hear it all the time, right? Life begins outside of your comfort zone. Do the things that scare the crap out of you. I know it's uncomfortable. I was just in it for like a week. I was in it and I didn't like it. But what I realized after talking to the president of Achieve TV, or my network, I realized, she just kept saying, just have fun. Do you guys think I'm having fun right now? I'm having fun. I'm in my room by myself, having a blast. But I know you're out there, so that makes me have even more fun. Just have fun with everything we're doing. Instead of putting so much pressure on ourselves, instead of feeling like we have to be perfect, instead of feeling like everything has to go a certain way, and we have to have this hard line expectation of our lives. Instead of doing that, why don't we just take chances? Why don't we just take risks? Why don't we just get out there and do the things that our heart is calling us to? Because guess what? I can verify this. There is a lot of joy on the other side. Way more joy, way more expansion, way more growth, way more life experience, tons of life experience that will bring you more than you could ever imagine. That's where I'm at. Like, everything just surprises and delights me. And yes, it still does, even after all these years of knowing how the laws of the universe work. One of my sayings very often is, this is a setup. This is a giant setup, and I'm doing the setting up. I set it up this way. So when I look out at things, and this may sound crazy to you, but you will get there. If you hang with me, you're going to get there. I will look out at the earth. I'll look out. First of all, we live in Orange County, California, which is phenomenally beautiful. And right now it's spring, and we have had a super soaker. They call it the super bloom because we had a super soaker. This winter, we had more rain than we've had since I've lived here. The flowers everywhere are so beautiful, and the sunshine and the blue sky and all of it. And I'm like, I created all of this. And yes, I'm in a co-creative partnership, so I don't take all the credit, but this is an expression of me. I also do this with music that I absolutely adore. I'm really into stick figure music. Yes, I do love reggae. I'm really into their music right now. And when I hear the music, I'm like, it's the perfection of all of it. When I walk into my hot yoga studio and they're playing stick figure, I'm like, I did that. I did that. So when you really start to gain confidence in this manifesting game, you're going to be able to take a little credit, and that's going to bolster you up. And when you get bolstered, guess what? Then you've got confidence. Then you're going to do stuff that's out of your comfort zone, and you're going to do it well. You're going to do it despite the fears and despite the doubts. But the doubts aren't going to be the loudest thing in your head anymore. Your intuition is, because you're going to put yourself, if you're listening to the show, you're going to do this. You're going to put yourself in zero state awareness every day, where you get a chance. You get a chance at the choice of your life, because that's where it all begins. And when you start to get that chance, right? When you start to clear the slate from the past, from the future, from all of it, and you just sit in the being, that's where the bliss is. And that's when you start to realize, oh, there's so much more than this. There's so much more than this physical reality. And we'll get deep into stuff like that if you'd like to. I'm ready. I'm ready to talk about non-physical energy and I've got it all. I've got it all prepared for you because it's coming through me in a way that I can express it and help you to understand that this isn't all there is. Scientifically, spiritually, they have proven there is energy that they can't explain. I mean, Albert Einstein said this. When you start really diving into science, you start to see that this isn't all there is. And there are forces of the universe that we can tap into and we can draw from and we can become more from and we can be a part of. We can be more of an expression of all that is. And when we do that, that's when life becomes really, really good, really joyful. And it doesn't mean that nothing bad ever happens to you. This is what it means. It means that you get on a trajectory that when the bad things do happen, they don't feel so bad and they don't look so bad because you have your sights set on what you want to happen. And when something happens now, like something that's not optimal happens now, you can say, I can't wait to see what manifests from this. That's what I do. I've been doing that for years. I can't wait to see what manifests from this, even if it doesn't feel good. Even the last couple of days being out of my comfort zone, I'm sitting in my house. There's nobody here. I got a ton of anxiety. Like, I got to practice what I preach, right? So I worked in it. I worked in the meditation. I worked through it. I worked with the feelings. And I came back to the realization that if I screw this up, I screw it up and it's fine because I'm real, because I'm authentic and I don't need to be perfect. I have needed to be perfect in my life. But over the last few years, I have shed that because caring about what people think about me doesn't serve my bigger picture. It doesn't serve who I want to become, and it doesn't serve who you want to become. So we've got to let that judgment piece go that, I don't know, maybe it comes with age. I'm 50, so maybe that comes with age. I don't know, but I think it more comes from tuning into myself, to my inner voice and what's important, and connecting with that truth of who you are deep, deep, deep inside, shedding all the layers, all the junk, all the wounds, all the traumas, all the poverty or whatever you've experienced in your life that has been less than optimal, the divorces, the separations, the abandonment. Anybody got that? Yep. The breakups, the broken hearts, all that stuff. It's just juice for you. That's what it is now. It's just juice for you. It's just fuel. It's fuel for you to find out who you really are and to shed those layers that no longer serve you, that no longer need to be a part of who you are. And like enough of them messing up your manifestation game and enough of them messing up your ability to be powerful in this life. So let's let go of victimhood and blame, and let's become the most powerful creators. Thank you all for being here with me. This was super fun. I can't wait to do this again. I will be back on Thursday at noon Pacific, and you can always catch me on the replay, but share this with your friends. Come and sit with me. There is an energetic transmission here that you want to be a part of. Love y'all. Peace. Now I got to find my thing here. All right. Peace out.